What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Before we get into it, I wanted to address some current events that have happened late Friday evening. Looks like the Marvel family has sustained a pretty heavy loss on Friday, about 9 p.m. We got the message that Chadwick Boseman had succumbed to his stage 4 cancer that he sustained, diagnosed in 2016. It leaves a lot of issues. Well, I mean, we'll address the Marvel stuff at another date, but I wanted to kind of put this. I apologize if this is the first time you're hearing it from me. It's tough news to hear. Chadwick Boseman, by all accounts, was a wonderful person, great to work with. But for me, it was always embodied some really strong, interesting characters. And the day that he was casted for Black Panther was such a big deal for me. I thought he was a great actor then, and obviously came out, proved to be true, even through Civil War and whatnot. He apparently had cancer the whole time, so that's 3 Marvel movies, world tours, 6 total movies while he did it. That's kind of amazing, but also, well, you can do so much when you are driven to do so. So I don't want to spend too much time on that in general, but we'll address the rest of it in another day. I just want to say that his embodiment of Black Panther is very, very true to the way that I always thought Black Panther and King T'Challa should be. He was always seen as well put together. Every interview that I've seen with him on set was great. He always seemed well-hearted, kind-mannered. So it's a tough thing to happen. We'll address the rest of the Marvel stuff at some other date. I do want to kind of talk about where we go forward, but if you want to see some really cool art, definitely take a look at the stuff that we're seeing on Reddit. The Marvel Studios forum got a lot of art there, a lot of tributes that are kind of showing up, and it's great to see. It's good to see a lot of folks kind of showing love for a character that meant so much to them. So, but with that, let's get into the video and talk about get the hype train going for Storm's Tier 3. The August sneak peek arrived yesterday. Woke up really, really early this morning with it. I ran essentially a half marathon yesterday, so my foot's been killing me. Took the day of rest, but couldn't sleep much. I woke up this morning and lo and behold, August sneak peek number 8. Greetings, agents. This is CM Fragment of Marvel Future Fight. Following Miss Kamala Khan and Iceman, we are ready to introduce the 3rd spectacular hero from uniform for this update. That's a little bit 3rd spectacular hero uniform. That's a little reaching. I think a lot of folks are not very happy with Iceman, but by all accounts, Miss Kamala Khan is great. So we'll kind of forgive him for that. We'll see what this sneak peek brings. It's pretty much confirmed that Storm will be a Tier 3. That's what we kind of knew all along, but it's explicitly stated here, which is kind of great. After riding the winds across the globe, she finally makes her landfall in Marvel Future Fight with a brand new uniform. It's time to take Storm to unleash her fury and awakening of a Tier 3. I thought for a moment that we might be getting this update in the morning with this morning's reset, but if this little verbiage down here, we will be back soon with more information on Storm's new powered uniform and more related events. Looks like it's going to be coming maybe a little bit later on down the line. I think either, if not, well, we'll talk about it a little bit later on in the video, but flip on over to Twitter. In terms of the update itself, nothing new in terms of verbiage, just level of Storm. So little pun there, but let's check out this video, kind of see what we see. Oh, so good. So there's some eagle eye folks over on the forums as well as on Twitter has pointed out this T3 that we see here. So obviously, I mean, they already explicitly stated, they made it super clear that she would be getting her T3, but this is little sneak peek, shout outs to the sneak peek team for putting a little bit of extra inside of it. A look into the uniform itself, it looks like they are going to go with what we had thought they were going to go with, Inhumans versus X-Men. So let's take a look at a little bit deeper into that, what that comic looks like, and we can kind of see what we see. So this is the first instance of the uniform, as Storm's wearing. She's got the mohawk that became very, very classic for her, very, very iconic for her. Everybody loves this kind of looks, little punk Storm. So this is what I would expect that we're going to get in terms of the uniform itself, just by this screenshot. We've got kind of this look upon it. In this comic book run, in Inhumans versus X-Men, at the time, Storm is the leader of the X-Men. She's, yes, Emma and Magneto play huge roles in this comic book run, but Ororo is the leader of the X-Men, technically. You come to find out that she was actually in on the whole plan. She actually sides with Emma and Magneto on the attacking of Atalan. But she has a pretty solid look from the comics. It'll be interesting what they bring to her kit, as the uniform for X-Men Red was not... wasn't it was a massive upgrade on her original suit, so thereby not a whole lot was missing in her last uniform. I did skip out on it in terms of my account, simply because the Jean Grey one was what everyone was talking about at the time. Storm's power level for me has always been Shadowland, and when most folks said it's going to do world bosses, I mean, it's a year ago, right? So most people were doing world bosses at maybe max 25, and it was not something that I was really kind of playing much at the time. But for her to then submit an entry about 10 or so, it didn't seem like, overpowering, and it didn't seem like an absolute need for me to get. So I chose not to get it this time around, that time around. But this time around, it seems like maybe she's going to get some Omega level power. It is in question whether or not Storm is Omega level. There's a lot of people that speculate yes. There's a lot of people that speculate no. There's indications in the comics that she might be, but there's no clear-cut answer or somebody outright saying that she is an Omega level mutant. So it's kind of very, very difficult to kind of match that power level in the comics itself. She's able to control the weather, obviously. It isn't just rain, storms, and lightning. She's able to change the atmosphere. She's also able to change the pressure in the atmosphere, as well as other planets. She's able to control the weather there. So that's pretty powerful. In a lot of people's books, in my book certainly, that would make her an Omega level mutant. But it's all up for discussion. There was a data mine earlier this month, maybe about 2 weeks ago, when we got the update that we have now in the game, and it kind of revealed some of the possible skills that we might be looking at. So we'll just take a moment to review them. Obviously, this is all subject to change when the actual patch goes live. It doesn't really give details about what damage is what, how much it actually will do. So we're kind of waiting in the air, waiting in the winds to see kind of what happens here. But it looks like it all 5 skill changes, as well as new passives and new, obviously a new tier 3 skill. For skill number 1, it looks like this one will do the lightning damage that it already does now, but skill 2 and 3 will now deal cold damage instead of the generic energy damage. So that'll be interesting to see which one actually does more, whether or not you should equip. I mean, most folks that are running high-level storms have a CTB of energy currently on her, but we'll see if it's worthwhile to change it to all lightning or maybe cold lightning and crit damage. it'll be interesting if rage becomes a huge factor. But continuing on with the rest of the skills here, skill 2 provides some freeze as well as chill damage. Skill 3 provides also cold damage, increase attack buff and defense buff by 30%, which is, the data mine says it's maybe more, maybe less. Another big glaring mistake for, well, I guess it's a glaring mistake for Iceman is that the cold resistance stacks down to 100% for Storm, and ignores immunity, as well as the lightning resist down stacks to 100%. So that's a little bit of Thor plus a little bit of Luna, and it's surprising that Iceman didn't get a cold resist down, right? He didn't get any defensive down, no accumulation, no defensive down, and here it is all on Storm. So there's a little bit to that as well. The skill 4, this one has the cold damage as well, and the defensive down that I was talking about, which stacks up to 75%, which is huge. I think the only one that currently stacks higher than that would be Deadpool, but there are other, I believe Sentinel, Nimrod, the lesser, stacks up to 75% as well. So that's going to be huge. It's going to be a big buff against otherworld bosses. We don't really need another Ebony Maw Killer, but maybe she can do some other, what we've seen from the one-shotting, she might be able to do some other world bosses pretty quickly for your one-shotting fun. Skill 5 looks to be changed as well. Damage immunity. Again, no real numbers that we can kind of speak of here, but another lightning damage skill. The 4-star passive now increases all damage by 30%, which is a pretty big stat jump from what she was already having. Her tier 2 passive changes as well, increases skill damage by 50% and accumulation of true damage dealt, which is kind of awesome because true damage dealt is always better than true damage taken. True damage taken on things like Captain America, for example, is just so awkward to play, right? So this time around, having true damage dealt, you might get something like, Cable level rework in terms of damage increase. 1% energy attack for 1% accumulated. So it might be one of those pieces that you want to equip some energy attack urus, maybe skip out on the elements specifically, maybe not worth the it might just go with straight CTB of energy or rage, depending on what her skills and hits look like. Her ultimate skill doesn't really give a whole lot of indication of what it might end up being, but deals damage, ignores dodge by 40%, makes her invisible. But there may be other skills, other debuffs in this. We'll have to kind of wait out the preview to kind of see what else shows up. Flipping over to the game real quick, what we see is that we'll probably get a stat bump just based on the numbers that we saw on Reddit, the data mine itself. Yes, granted, it could be very, very different, but the fact that there's an additional skill in its coding as a different passive, and it states 10% as opposed to the 6% that we see here on X-Men Red. We also will get I believe it's the other. This one didn't have a uniform effect, so I would expect a uniform buff of some kind at some point or another. But in terms of when this update might drop, that's kind of, for me, I was thinking a little bit more in line with when the Black Bolt event ends or when the story mode changes. If we look at these story fragments and we look at when the character changes, they change in about 6 hours from the time of this video. So the next update, which would be essentially for me Monday morning, so you might get a new set of changes for the characters themselves and this character bonus for the story fragments. So I'll be updating my guide that I had on the last video. So that's one possible place that it could be updated. The other, if you're collecting your tokens, you'll find that this update ends up in a day and 16 hours as well. So that would be Tuesday morning. It could be a full, instead of like a rolling update like the Odin one was, this one might actually be a package that might get downloaded and down for resets, and then back up for the rest of the time. So we'll have to see when that drops. As of right now, nothing in game, no indication that Storm's tier 3 is already here. Potential is already maxed for me. She's at level 70. Her gears are at 25. I may rank them up. I have the resources for it. I just didn't want to. I was kind of banking the tier 3 materials, but we'll have to wait and see. Some of the other content creators put out some videos to see what we get right away. By the data mine itself, it looks to be very, very good. But just because it's good on paper doesn't mean it actually shows up to be very, very good when it arrives. So we'll have to kind of wait and see on that. I do love the look. The mohawk version of Storm always was kind of my favorite look because it was so different. So we'll have to see. I don't want to keep you guys for too long though. I've been rambling, and there's more news to cover as we'll be back. So I'll definitely check in when we get more update, more information, and we'll kind of go from there. But until next time, be well, be safe. Thank you again for all of the comments, the likes and subscribes that we're getting. Really, really appreciate it. But until next time, I will see you then soon. There's more news to cover as we'll be back. So I'll definitely check in when we get more update, more information, and we'll kind of go from there. But until next time, be well, be safe. Thank you again for all of the comments, the likes and subscribes that we're getting. Really, really appreciate it. But until next time, I will see you then soon.